Hey, it's Alexis. Today I'm going to be talking about the 25 books that I want to read in 2025. So I just want to talk about them and then show you where I'm going to keep them on my bookshelf so that I always look at them when I'm picking my TBRs. So let's just jump right in because, well, we got 25 books to talk about. So the first one is Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and I still don't know how to say the author's name. I'm sorry. And I know I just bought this one for my birthday, but I really want to get to it next year. I think that this is going to be a really fun, quick read, and I've heard really great things about it, so figured why not throw it on the 25 books in 2025 list. Next up is The Invisible Husband of Frick Island by Colleen Oakley. So this is about this woman named Piper whose husband is dead, but she's not going to accept the fact that he's dead. So she walks around talking to him and talking about him like he's still alive. And the townspeople just kind of go with it. So that sounds like a really interesting concept. Next is Kingdom Keepers, Disney at Dawn by Ridley Pearson. This is the second book in the series. I kind of put the whole series on here, but we're just going to talk about, one. I really enjoyed the first one, and then I just didn't read anymore. I don't know why. I read the first one in March. I feel like I could have had this done already if I would have just read them. But we're going to try to read them in 2025. That's my goal. Will I accomplish it? I don't know. But we'll see. If you haven't read the series, it's about these kids that are kind of like tour guides, I guess you could say, of the Magic Kingdom. But they're not there in person. It's like virtual reality. But these kids, when they go to sleep at night, in their dreams, they all dream the same thing. So now they're connected and they're all hanging out together at the Magic Kingdom. And weird things happen at night. It's a pretty cool concept. So I'm excited to read the rest of the series. And then we have Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. Was I supposed to read this one in 2024? Absolutely I was. Did I? No. So it's going on the 25 books in 2025 because I need to read it. And if I don't, I need to get rid of it because I'm obviously not going to read it. So I'm going to give myself a whole nother year to read this one. And hopefully I do it because I hear nothing but amazing things about it. I'm really excited for it. I don't know why I haven't read it. I just haven't. Next, we have The Authenticity Project by Claire Pooley. The concept sounds really cool to me. It's about Julian, who is a lonely artist, believing that most people aren't really honest with one another. So there's this notebook where it gets left at this cafe, I think, or something like that. And the object of the notebook is everyone to write things about themselves in it that they want other people to know. And then it just gets shared around. And I think that's a really cool concept and a cool way to get to know people. So I want to read about that. Then we have Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. I've never read a book by Kristen Hanna before. And I hear they're really sad. So I'm nervous, but also excited about this one. It says, spanning more than 3 decades and playing out across the ever-changing face of the Pacific Northwest, this is a book of 2 women and the friendship that defines their lives. It struck a chord with women around the world. In a way, this is the story of all women, of who we are and what we care about and how much friendship matters. So this takes place in the summer of 1974, and it says Kate has accepted her place at the bottom of the 8th grade social food chain. Then to her amazement, the coolest girl in the world moves in across the street and wants to be her friend. So this sounds really good, and it's really long. It's almost 500 pages. So that makes me a little nervous. And the fact that people said this is sad also makes me a little nervous. But we're going to do it. We're going to read this at some point in 2025. Hold me accountable. Next, we have Finding Mr. Right by Kelly Armstrong. I really, really love this cover. I don't know why. I don't even know if this lighting... The lighting probably sucks right now, actually, now I think about it. Hopefully, husband can fix this in editing. This book just sounds cute. Okay? So it's about Daphne. She is an author who is writing this, book series. And there's this main character that she now has to convince to the world is a real person. So she hires an actor to pretend to be the main character of her book. And I think that concept sounds really interesting. I just want to kind of see where this author is going to go with it. So, excited to read this one. Next up, we have Don't You Forget About Me by Vari McFarland. I found out that her name is pronounced Varley. At least I think I'm saying it right. I don't know. Like I told you when I bought this one in my birthday vlog, this one just like moved itself way up on my TBR. So now it's in the 25 books to read in 2025 because I'm just so excited for it. So the first sentence I think is what like intrigued me the most. It says, "If there's anything worse than being fired from the lousiest restaurant in town, it's coming home early to find your boyfriend in bed with someone else." So that just sounds so interesting to me. It literally jumped up on my list. Next we have Belladonna by Adeline Grace. Has this one also been on my TBR multiple times this year? Absolutely. Have I read it? No. So this is another of those read it in 2025 or unhaul it because I'm tired of looking at it on my shelf and not reading it. The concept sounds so cool, but I still haven't read it. It says, orphaned as a baby, 19-year-old Signa has been raised by a string of guardians, each more interested in her wealth than her well-being, and each has met an untimely end. Her remaining relatives are the exclusive Hawthorns, an eccentric family living at Thorn Grove, an estate both glittering and gloomy. Its patriarch mourns his late wife through wild parties while his son grapples for control of the family, wanting reputation, and his daughter suffers from a mysterious illness. But when their mother's restless spirit appears claiming she was poisoned, Signa realizes that the family she depends on could be in grave danger and enlists the help of a surly stable boy to hunt down the killer. So this one just sounds really interesting. So I'm excited for it. Still don't have a single clue why I haven't read it yet, but hopefully we get to it in 2025. Then we have Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. And this is the second book. So it's apparently part of the Bellinger Sisters series. So I read It Happened One Summer in 2023. So I think it's time for me to read this one. So this is about Hannah and Fox, which Fox is the best friend of the guy in the first one, and Hannah is the sister of the girl in the first one. So I'm excited for this one because I really did enjoy that one. Why it took me so long to read this one, I don't know. But yeah, hopefully we get to this one. And then we have Happy Medium by Sarah Adler. So this one says, fake spirit medium Gretchen Acorn is happy to help when her best friend, Reed Wealthiest, to help her investigate the unexplained phenomenon preventing the sale of her bridge partner's struggling goat farm. Gretchen may be a fraud, but she'd like to think she's the beneficent one. So if cleansing the property will help a nice old man finally retire and put some much needed cash in her pockets at the same time, who's she to say no? Of course it turns out said bridge partner isn't the kindly AARP member Gretchen imagined. Charlie Waybill, what a weird name, is young, hot as hell, and extremely unconvinced that Gretchen can communicate with the dead, which, fair. Except, to her surprise, Gretchen finds herself face to face with Everett, the very real, very chatty ghost that's been wreaking havoc during every open house. And he wants her to help ensure Charlie avoids the same family curse that had Everett haunting Gilded Creek since the 1920s. So this one just sounds really interesting. And I did read a book by this author this year, which was called Mrs. Nash's Ashes. And I really enjoyed that one. So hopefully I'm really going to enjoy this one as well. That one will probably be a book I read in like October though, because it sounds like spooky season book. Next up we have Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I don't know why I picked this one exactly out of all of the books I have of her still to read, but I really have enjoyed every book of Taylor's that I've read so far, so I'm excited for this one. It says, Elsie Porter is an average 20-something, and yet what happens to her is anything but ordinary. On a rainy New Year's Day, she heads out to pick up a pizza for one. She isn't expecting to see anyone else in the shop, much less the adorable and charming Ben Ross. Their chemistry is instant and electric. Ben cannot even wait 24 hours before asking to see her again. Within weeks, the two are head over heels in love. By May, they've eloped. Only 9 days later, Ben is out riding his bike when he's hit by a truck and killed on impact. Okay. Elsie hears the sirens outside her apartment, but by the time she gets downstairs, he has already been whisked off to the hospital. There she must face Susan, the mother-in-law she's never met and who doesn't even know Elsie exists. Okay, it keeps getting better. Interweaving Elsie and Ben's charmed romance with Elsie and Susan's healing process. Forever Interrupted will remind you that there's more than one way to find a happy ending. I don't really know what I was expecting from this, but it wasn't this. Yeah, like I said, I've read 3 of her other books, and I really enjoyed them all, and I know that they've all had like this like underlying theme of like grief and stuff, but I wasn't expecting it to be like this. I'm excited but nervous. Next we have Float by Kate Marchant, and this is a Wattpad book. Do with that information what you will. I don't know if this is going to be like my favorite book of the year, but I do want to read it and get it off my shelf. So I'm either going to read it in 2025 or it's going to go. I don't know. I haven't really heard people talk about this before though. Anyway, hopefully this book is good. We'll see what happens. Next up we have The Fiancé Dilemma by Elena Armaz. And this book was just released this year in 2024. But this is, I guess, the sequel to The Long Game, which I read last year. I really, really enjoyed it. So hopefully I really, really enjoy this one as well, since I, enjoyed the first one. But I have read another book by this author, The American Roommate Experiment, and absolutely hated it. So I'm nervous because, like, right now she's sitting at a 50% record, I guess you could say. Like, I liked one of her books that I read, and I hated the other one that I read. So I'm kind of nervous. But if this is as good as the other one that I liked, then I'll be excited to read more from this author. Next we have The Deal by Elle Kennedy. And it is about time I got this one off of my TBR. We're just going to try to talk over it. Next up is The Deal by Elle Kennedy. And it's about time I get this one off of my TBR. I've had this one on there, I don't even know how long. Probably since the beginning of 2023, end of 2022, something like that. So it's about time for me to get this off of my TBR. I've heard great things about it, so I'm excited for it. Apparently it's like a hockey romance. I don't know much about it. I'm trying to keep it that way. I just want to go into it. But I've heard really great things about it. Next up is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This will probably be another one I read in October of next year, since it's giving me spooky season vibes. But I'm really excited to read it. I just need to bite the bullet and do it. Next we have Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I've never read a book by this author before, but I've heard that this one is really good, and I do want to watch the show. Is it a show or a movie? I don't remember. I really want to watch the adaptation of this, so I'm really excited to read it. All I know about it is that it's a romance. It's a male-male romance between the son of the President of the United States and the prince. So, sounds very interesting. Next we have The Gracier by Kim Liggett. I think that's her name. And this one sounds so interesting to me. So, every year, well, I guess it's every year. But what I was trying to say was, whenever these girls turn, is it 16? Yeah. So whenever these girls turn 16, they're banished for a whole year until till they're 17. And then they come back and they're like ready for marriage and stuff. Like, it sounds interesting. Also kind of weird. So I'm kind of excited for it. Then we have The Girl He Used to Know by Tracy Garvis Graves. And I don't know a whole lot about this one except for that it takes place at the University of Illinois. And I've actually visited that campus before, so I think it's kind of cool to read about something that I know. So it says that she's an English major. I'm an English major. Not at this school, but I'm still an English major. And it says that she's anxious in social situations. Me too. Where she finds most people's behaviors confusing. She'd rather be in the library surrounded by books. Same. Or playing a quiet game of chess. I've never played chess, but I like to play cozy video games. So this book just sounds like I'm going to relate to this character a lot. And it takes place in a place that I've been to before. So I'm kind of excited to see what this is all about. Next up, we have The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez, which is the first book in the series. And the only Abby Jimenez book that I've read is actually the third book in a series I've read just for the summer. And I was absolutely obsessed with it, like gave it 5 stars and everything. But then after I read it, I found out that it was part of the interconnected standalone series of Part of Your World and Yours Truly. So I need to read those still. But I wanted to put this on my 25 books in 2025 to make myself read this series too, because I absolutely love her writing. And I'm so excited for the next book that's coming out in 2025. So I want to try to read her backlist before that one comes out. Can I make it? I don't know, but this is going on the list just to see. Then we have A Million Junes by Emily Henry. I know that everybody talks about all of her newer books, like from Beach Read on, but no one talks about her previous books. So I wanted to read it and see like what the hype's about, because the few people that I have seen mention this book have really, really enjoyed it. So I'm really excited for it. It says, for as long as June O'Donnell has been alive, her parents have only one rule: stay away from the Angert family. But when June collides, quite literally, with Saul Angert, sparks fly and everything June has always known is thrown into chaos. So this one just sounds like it's going to be a cute little book. And I think this one might be a YA book. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it is. So I feel like it's just going to be a cute little book. Well, not little. It's like, how many pages? It's like almost 400 pages, so it's not little, but I feel like it's going to be a cute book. Next, we have Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. Again, this one was on my A to Z challenge for 2024. Did not read it. It's also been on a few TBRs. Still did not read it. 2025 is going to be my year, though. I'm going to read this in 2025. I'm going to read the whole series in 2025, because I'm pretty sure the third book comes out that year. Yeah. That's going to be the year I read it. You just mark my words and hold me accountable. Then we have The Ministry of Time by Kayleen Bradley. I think that's how you say her name. And so Haley Pham read this and she keeps like gushing about how great it is and how it's like one of her favorite books of all time. So I'm really excited to read this one. I think I'm just nervous that I'm gonna hype it up in my head and then I'm not gonna like it very much. So I'm trying to like push my excitement level down before I read it, and I think that's why I haven't read it yet, but I'm gonna make myself read it in 2025. Then we have First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. I don't know a whole lot about this book, but I've heard great things about it, and I felt like I needed to put at least one thriller on this list because I don't think I have one. So here we are. Then the last book on this list. I'm very nervous but very excited for it. But we're going to do 11/22/63 by Stephen King. This book, so many pages. This is almost 900 pages. This is probably going to be the biggest book I've ever read in my life, but I'm excited for it. So this is about this guy who goes to this cafe or diner or something, and in the back room is like a time machine. So this guy is trying to go back and prevent the JFK assassination from happening. So it sounds really cool. So I'm excited for this one, but I'm nervous because of the size of it. But let's be real, I'm probably going to buy it on my Kindle and read it on there, because who wants to hold this while they read it? I'm going to show you where I'm going to put these books now. So down here on the shelf, it's empty. And it's going to be right next to the TBR cart. So I'm going to put all these books on the shelf. So hopefully when I'm picking out my TBRs, I'll look over here and at least grab one. And look, I still have space for like 2 more. I hope that you really enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.